is Todd Frazee, and this is the video tutorial to do this CAD and CAM for the rotary stock, part number 7333, REV 0. So if we look at this part, there's some common features we've designed in to fit our 4th axis rotaries. And it's this boss that goes on the center of the Haas rotary at a tight fit, this dowel pin hole. Those are common features. You should have already done it in their project for this part, 7332. If you haven't programmed and modeled this one, do this one first, follow the tutorials, because what we're going to do is we're actually going to copy this part to make this part. Common features, we can modify the model and we can apply the same toolpath, and that's part of the power of parametric modeling. Okay, so let's go to Fusion. And here is my 7322 project. I've already programmed everything. I'm going to collapse all this down. And we're going to go back to the design mode. Okay, and I should have stock already set up. Vice operations for my 2 operations. Okay, so I've got to make that visible there. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to the design panel and we're going to locate this file. Okay, it's 7332 REV 0. I'm going to right click on it in the data panel and we're going to copy this entire file. Okay, so I've got my copy. It should have version 1 under the name, and we're going to right click on that one and we're going to rename it, and we're just going to change the number to 33. Okay, so now we've got the duplicate. We want to make sure we close our original and open our duplicate file. Okay, so right now everything's identical. We're going to go to design and we need to do a series of changes because this is not the same part. So let's hide our vise and our V block, and let's look at our base model and we're going to compare it to the actual drawing. So if we go to home, we can see it in the original orientation it was modeled in. What we have is a difference in diameter here and a difference in depth. Other than that, this should be pretty much the identical model. So let's go look at our history and let's look at that was established in our very first sketch. So let's edit that sketch and we're going to look at the dimensions that need to change. So I believe it is this diameter here, this depth here, and everything else should stay the same. So let's look at our overall diameter of it is 2875. Okay, we're going to go back to Fusion and we're going to modify that diameter. So it's this one, and it's 2.875 divided by 2 because it's a radius. Okay, we now have the correct diameter on that feature. Now let's go back to our print, and this 1 inch 10 thousandths changes to a 1/4 inch even. So we'll go back to Fusion and we'll change that to 0.25. That's it. That's the only difference between these 2 parts when it comes to the geometry. So we're going to hit Finish Sketch. We now have the 7333 accurately modeled, and all the other features are identical. Now let's take a look at how we're going to hold this up. So if we go to Bodies, we have our stock model, which should be valid for this one too. Okay, But we want to go ahead and be thorough and change the name on this to the correct part number. Okay. And then let's look at our setup for, setup 2. One reason I had a relatively tall parallel under this was because the other part we were cutting pretty far down. Now it looks like we have a lot more clearance on this part, and I think the part would run better and be more rigid if we had a shorter parallel on there. So the current difference in height here is 885 thousandths, and we have, or 65 thousandths. We currently have 1.125" parallels in our configuration. I think we can take off 5/8 and still have plenty of room, or go down to 5/8 and have plenty of room. That would be dropping it a total of about a 1/2 inch. Okay, so how we can make that change is we go to the vise instance, right click on it, and since we used configurations, we're going to go up and pick this menu that says switch configurations. And this will allow us to select a different configuration of the vise. So we're going to go down and we're going to use the 5/8 parallels. I don't like using 1/2 inch because you can't get your calipers under it. So we're going to go to 5/8 and we're going to hit OK. And then we're going to ensure, yeah, that's above my part quite a bit. But we're getting another 1/2 inch, which is actually about twice as much engagement of this front jaw here. All right, so if that works for op 2, that should work for op 1. So let's go back to that one, and we're going to switch configuration of the other vise. It's currently hidden, and we're going to pick the 5/8 tall parallels. Okay, so we don't see anything physically change, but if we were to swap operations to go to op 1 and turn our stock on, it should be sitting, a little bit lower, a little more rigid. Okay, so we're going to save now, make sure we don't mess anything up. And I'm going to close the data panel. Now we're going to go to the manufacturer tab, and there's some stuff to clean up there. Now it noticed the model changed, of course, and so we need to do some regeneration, but we need to fix some things in the setup first. First thing is these ops are going to call it the wrong program number, so we're going to go edit. We can leave everything at default, but we need to go to this post-process page and change the program number to reflect this part number. Okay, so that's fixed in op 1. And then let's go to op 2 and do the same thing. Okay, because we don't want to be outputting the wrong programs. Now let's fix our notes. This note is all valid except for the parallel height. So we're no longer using inch and 5/8. We're going to use 5/8 tall parallels. So let's fix both setup sheets. Okay, there we go. Let's save again. All right, so now let's go through and generate. So on op 1, we can just go generate. It should be fine. All it's doing is a pocket, and it should. I have the wrong vise configuration showing, so let's do this. Let's go to models, and let's turn on configuration. I was just reprogramming it. So there I just regenerated. It's the same profile, same diameter, so the same result. Okay, so we've pretty much, we're done. We're done with op 1. Now we gotta do op 2. So we're gonna switch back to the other vise configuration where I see op 2, and there's a little bit more work we're going to need to do there. Op 1, we can just generate that one, and it's going to generate it at the proper height. Okay, and op 2, same geometry, right? So we're just going to hit generate on that one. Okay, what does Op3 do? Now Op3 goes around the outside. Well, we don't want to keep that. See how that's cutting right into that steel jaw? It also is taking off more on the radius than we need for this. We don't need to rough this. It's a little tiny step here. I think it's only a 60th per side. So we're going to go edit, and we're going to change, we're going to leave everything the same except for on our geometry tab. That looks correct. And then on our heights tab, we should be able to keep everything else the same there, okay, because it's the same faces, the same model. But on our passes, what we want to do is our roughing pass, maximum step over 1 is probably fine, but I don't think we need to do 2 finish passes on this one. So we're just going to deselect the extra finish pass. And then on our multiple depths, let's see what our settings are there. And that all looks good. So I believe when we regenerate this, it will associate it now with the new geometry that's there. Okay, let's hit OK. And we get just a few passes is what we need. Okay. Now we're going to go to the next operation. Nothing's changed there. So we're going to go geometry. We're just going to generate that over. Hit our deep drilling. Nothing's changed there. Hit generate. The next drill, same location. Generate. Then we do our deep drilling. Need to generate that. More or less, we could have probably just regenerated the rest of the part. Okay, so everything's regenerated. We've updated our notes, the names of the setups, names of the programs. We're using the same vise setups. The only difference is these parallels. So when you run it, you need to make sure that you're running the right size parallels for the job you're doing. It should be in the setup sheets, but we don't want to have a bad day. So make sure you're double checking your parallel heights. All right, that's it. That should have been easy for you. Most of the work was done on the other part. And I'll catch you on the next one.